Good morning. On behalf of our minister, the Reverend Dave Dunn, our music director, Alex Peach, and our interim religious education director, Melinda Mischik, I welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North congregation, a church home that we affectionately call UUMAN. I would like to stop a moment to thank Melinda for all she's done under extraordinary circumstances to help us as interim RE director this last year. Cheers to you, Melinda. A liberal religious community, UUMAN is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Our faith and values are exhibited in our 7 principles and love. I am delighted to welcome those visiting with us online this morning. We're glad you're here and we look forward to getting to know you better. Challenged in what we all hope are the waning months of COVID-19, at least in the US, to meet new people, we're trying extra hard to be creative. We invite all to join us after the service at 10:45 this morning for our virtual coffee hour on Google Meet. It's an informal gathering of folks talking about whatever's on their mind, usually nothing too heavy, but it could be. You'll find the link at uman.org, or maybe somebody will put it in the chat right about now. For more information on upcoming events, see the upcoming events section on the homepage of our website at uman.org. Now, take a moment to quiet yourself. Take a deep breath and a moment for you. Be here now, in this virtual space, with each other, and prepare for our service.
I'm Laura Keck from UUMAN's membership team. If you're new to our community, I'd like to take this opportunity to personally welcome you. Please take a moment to visit our website at uman.org. There on our homepage, you will find our online visitor form. After filling it out, someone from the membership committee will contact you. For more ways to connect, join us for coffee and conversation or adult religious exploration after service. You can also reach us at membership@uman.org. We'd love to answer the questions you might have about UUMAN, as well as to connect you with others who share your interests. We look forward to meeting with you.
Okay.
Great. Well, good morning, Elizabeth. How are you today?
Great, Bob. How are you?
Great, great. What you been up to these days?
Well, not too busy at all. There's a few things going on, but I've definitely been busy with the preparations for the May 23rd congregational meeting.
Congregational meeting. What are you talking about? I don't remember that.
Bob, you're the board president. How do you not know?
Oh, okay. The congregational meeting. Okay. Well, is there anything I have to do ahead of time?
Yeah, so don't forget the meeting is in 1 week at 11:30 on Zoom, and you can find the link on the website or in your email or on the Facebook page. And you've got to go find the link to vote before the congregational meeting too, because we've got to vote for board nominees and the proposed bylaws changes.
All right, well, I can do that. So I guess I'll see you then at the May 23rd congregational meeting at 11:30. So I guess I'll see you then.
Yeah, I'll see you Sunday at 11:30.
All right, kiddo, thank you. Bye.
Good morning. Margaret Fuller writes, I never lived, that I remember, what you call a common, natural day. For all my days are touched by the supernatural. For I feel the pressure of hidden causes, in the presence, sometimes the communion of unseen powers. The supernatural, hidden causes, the presence and communion of unseen powers. Where shall we look for these?
Come, let us mount on the wings of the morning, flying for joy in the flight. Wild with all longing, now soaring, now staying, mingling like day and dawn, swinging and swaying, hung like a cloud in the light. I am immortal. I feel it. Love bears me up. Love is might.
Now is the time in the service when the love that binds us together is spoken aloud. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share this morning, please type it in the chat. We've had some come in during the week. Here's one from Denise, Chris, and Todd Wilson, who have a joy/concern. Denise's mom and Todd's grandmother has had shoulder replacement surgery, which will improve her quality of life after she heals. But there are lots of challenges until then due to her health conditions. She's going into a skilled nursing rehab facility after being discharged from the hospital. Jennifer Ratcliffe and Gus Haydorn are joyful that their youngest daughter, Rose, graduated from UGA with a degree in physical therapy. Erin Weston Podorowski wishes all a happy, gorgeous, cool spring day. Her family's joy is that they get to celebrate so many happy things in May. Emerson is turning 13. Jillian is finishing 5th grade and moving on to middle school. Martin and Aaron are celebrating their 17th wedding anniversary, and they are grateful to be able to celebrate with their parents and family now that most of them are vaccinated. Here's for the Podorowskis and their family members. Rosie Pop has a concern for her dad, who's currently bedbound and has had a problem with caregivers. A concern for herself, since she is currently his caregiver 24/7, which is hard enough, even though he's very easy to care for. And she has a joy that she reached out to her father's congregation, the Fairhope Unitarian Fellowship, and their members offered her support. I'm going to change this a little bit here. It is a wonderful feeling to know that we have a UU family there who is willing to help Rosie and her father. Here's one from Reverend Dave. Perhaps a dozen UUMAN members showed up at the Roswell City Council on Monday evening in support of the Roswell Community Masjid's rezoning of the property just south of UUMAN on Crabapple Rd. After a marathon question and answer period, the rezoning passed unanimously. RCM will soon be our neighbor. Reverend Dave received a note and a picture from RCM's Basam Fakori. The note says, "On behalf of the entire RCM team, I would like to convey our appreciation for the tremendous amount of support we received last night. We are humbled by your kind words and by all the efforts to be there for us. Absolutely looking forward to being closer so we can do even more good work together." And my strong brother, Bobby Joe, who might be watching and whom I've told you about this spring, has completed his 40 radiation treatments, and he got to ring the bell. Now I'll drop a final pebble for all those joys and sorrows still too tender to escape the folds of our hearts. Let us keep each other in our thoughts for the coming week. This meditation is inspired by Cliff Smith, the global mindfulness leader at Ernst & Young, also known as EY, where we both work. I invite you to sit comfortably. Feel the support of wherever you're sitting or lying. Relax a little bit, but keep your back straight if you can and as you're able. Put your hands on your lap or do whatever's comfortable. Close your eyes if you like, or maybe lower your gaze and soften your focus, looking at nothing in particular. And now become aware of your breath. Perhaps the sensation as the breath passes through your lips or nostrils, down your trachea. Notice your chest expanding as the air comes in. There's really nothing to do here except notice, observe, and give your full attention to what's happening already with your breath. Your mind may wander. That's okay. When you notice it, you're practicing mindfulness as you bring your attention back to your breath. That our bodies breathe without our even noticing is quite remarkable. But actually noticing it is a powerful practice. As you focus on your breathing, assume an attitude of friendliness and care. It's good to be alive and breathe and have friends and loved ones to care for and who care for us. Now, as you continue your awareness of breath, think of someone with whom you have an uncomplicated relationship. Perhaps a neighbor or coworker. And think to yourself, this person has a mind and body just like me. They have feelings, emotions, and thoughts just like me. They have, at some point in their lives, been sad, disappointed, angry, hurt, or confused, just like me. They have feelings, emotions, and thoughts, just like me. They have experienced emotional pain and suffering, just like me. They wish to be free from pain and suffering, just like me. They have joy and times of happiness, just like me. as you continue to notice your breathing, think about this person. They wish to be healthy, loved, and have fulfilling relationships, just like me. They wish to be happy, just like me. Now bring your attention back to your breath. We don't have time, but if we did, I would do this same meditative exercise with you for someone in what we might call your allergy zone. Not too complicated a relationship, but maybe someone with whom you'd like to be on better terms. And think about all the ways, from joy and love and being loved and cared for, to pain and suffering. They're just like you. Now come back to your breath for a minute. And as you do, I'd like you to think about your capacity for loving kindness. And think of someone for whom you have deep feelings of love and affection. Think of your loving kindness for this person and say this to yourself: may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I ride the waves of my life. May I live in peace no matter what I am given. Notice your feelings and let them be. Now bring this person with whom you'd like to be on better terms back to mind. And think, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you ride the waves of your life. May you live in peace, no matter what you are given. Notice your feelings and let them be. Now think about all people and all circles and offer to all: may we be happy. May we be healthy. May we ride the waves of our lives. May we live in peace no matter what we are given. Notice your feelings and let them be. As we close, think about who in your world needs loving kindness. What's important now? Open your eyes and come back to our service.
Margaret Fuller, born in 1810 in Cambridge, Massachusetts. She was a journalist, author, editor, teacher, women's rights activist. Women weren't doing such things early in the 19th century. She truly was a woman ahead of her time. Forward, brash, and at times described as being downright arrogant, her personality often repelled those she first met. Yet she earned the respect of those who appreciated her intellectual abilities. And she even earned the respect of those predisposed to believe that women could not possess such abilities. She wasn't a regular churchgoer, but when she did go, she attended Unitarian services. She was one of the original members of the Transcendentalist Club, started by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Other members included Henry David Thoreau, Theodore Parker, and William Ellery Channing, to name a few. Prophetic Unitarian voices all. She was one of the nation's first literary critics. She also became the first female war correspondent. Walt Whitman admired her as a writer, and Susan B. Anthony admired her as an activist, saying, "She possessed more influence on the thought of American women than any woman previous to her time." Margaret Fuller. Welcome to another episode of American Transcendental Experience. Today we have with us none other than Margaret Fuller. Born in 1810, Cambridge, Massachusetts, a journal, author, editor, women's rights activist. Good morning, Ms. Fuller.
Good morning.
Look, I'm going to jump right in, okay? When you were 25, your father passed away, and you had to work as a teacher at a girls' school in order to make ends meet. Now, I've uncovered a diary entry of one of your pupils, and it reads, "I love Miss Fuller already, but I fear her. She is different from the other teachers. I consider it a very great privilege to be under her instruction. She is very critical, and sometimes she cuts us into bits. When she cuts us all in a lump, it is quite pleasant, for she is quite witty. But woe to the one whom she cuts by herself. I do not know what she would say to this letter. I would not have her see it for $5. Miss Fuller, what do you say to that?"
Woe to them indeed. I have been known to cut one or two to bits, especially my students at the girls' school. It is for their benefit. I must prepare them to enter a world dominated by men, a world where men see women as merely another part of that world to be dominated. I have a clear idea of my own place in the world, and I have a clear idea of my pupils' place in the world. And that place is not to be dominated by men. No.
Well, how do you prepare them for that place?
We have conversations. And for each pupil, for each young woman in my charge, I demand to hear their voice. I demand to hear their thoughts. I demand to hear their perceptions. I demand to hear their ideas. I demand to hear that which is in the deepest recesses of their soul. And I cut them to bits when I'm not hearing those things from them.
Okay, why is it so important to hear those things from them?
Because this is what is demanded in order for them to claim their rightful place in the world, a place outside the purview of men. This is something new for women. Women are expected to be seen and not heard. I need my students to see that there is another world out there for them. In all, I hope to alter the image women have of themselves.
I see. In your groundbreaking book, Women of the 19th Century, a book that's made you a national figure, you had some salient observations on masculinity and femininity. Could you elaborate on that?
Male and female represent the two sides of the great radical dualism. But in fact, they are perpetually passing into one another. Fluid hardens to solid, solid rushes to fluid. There is no wholly masculine man, no purely feminine woman.
Interesting. That is an observation that is ahead of its time, yet some people might reject that fluidity. And how do you think people will feel about that?
I don't care how people feel about that.
Okay. Ms. Fuller, you are the first woman to routinely engage in learned public conversations on ethics and morality with men. And you are routinely in debate with none other than Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, William Ellery Channing, and Theodore Parker. And you've excelled in this realm. How did you achieve this? And do you think other women can achieve this as well?
A woman of tact and brilliancy like me has an undue advantage in conversations with men. They are astonished at our instincts. They do not see where we got our knowledge. And while they tramp on in their clumsy way, we wheel and fly and dart hither and thither and seize with ready eye all the weak points.
Wow, few would dare to call the likes of Emerson, Thoreau, Channing, or Parker clumsy.
Clumsy indeed. Thoreau, as editor of the Dial, I simply cannot print what he writes. I repeatedly return his submissions and insist that I will not accept his pieces until he reworks them.
Wow. Well, how does he feel about that?
I don't care how he feels about that.
Okay. You mentioned the Dial, the Transcendentalist magazine founded by Emerson and others. You were chosen to be the magazine's first editor. This is quite astonishing, considering many women writers of the time had to use male pseudonyms or else they wouldn't be published as women. I imagine you received a lot of criticism or discrimination while you were in this role?
Yes. When Unitarian minister Theodore Parker was asked about the Dial when I was editor, he said, "What the Dial needs is a beard." Even Emerson himself was known to have said, "Women should not be expected to write, build, or compose scores." He believes a woman's role is to inspire men to do such things. Oh, goodness. Again, another example of men tramping on in their clumsy ways. If they could only see themselves, yet that is not possible. Their criticisms don't affect me in the least. I know who I am.
Yes. Well, it's been said that you're the best read person in New England. I imagine this might be a little off-putting to some because author Paula Blanchard said that Margaret Fuller continues to repel almost everyone she meets by her air of pompous intellectual vanity. What are your thoughts on that?
There is perhaps some truth to that. I have contempt for those who are frivolous, superficial, conventional, those stuck in their old ways. I now know all the people worth knowing in America, and I find no intellect comparable to my own. I put my intellect forward. I have to, in order to stake my place in a man's world. This will repel those who feel privileged to dominate me in particular, and women in general.
I see. And I imagine this will repel some, especially those whom you first meet. Yet some who get to know you better seem to see through what might be called intellectual vanity and see the real you. For example, Horace Greeley, the editor of the New York Tribune and your employer, writes of you. As time wore on, I became inevitably better and better acquainted with her. I found myself drawn almost irresistibly into the general current. I found that her faults and weaknesses were all superficial and obvious to the most casual observer, and they rather dwindled than expanded upon fuller knowledge or rather, took on a new and brighter aspects in the light of a radiant and lofty soul. And Emerson said, Margaret Fuller can quickly dispose of any unfortunate circumstance or critic. She only has to open her mouth and triumphant success awaits her. Ms. Fuller, I'd say this is very high praise.
I am grateful for their friendship.
In 1846, Margaret Fuller was assigned as a war correspondent in Italy for the New York Tribune. While in Europe, she met Giovanni Osili, a follower of the Italian revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini, who was seeking to replace the Italian papal state with a democratic form of government. It is unknown whether Fuller and Osili ever wed, but they had a child together in 1848. After the failed revolution, Margaret Fuller, her husband and child returned to the United States in 1850. In a fierce storm, their ship ran aground on a sandbar a mere 100 yards offshore from Fire Island, which is an outer bank of Long Island. In the fierce seas, rescue parties could not be launched in the strong surf. And after being stranded for several hours on the deck of the ship, the crippled ship began to break apart. And on the deck of that sinking ship, Margaret Fuller, her husband, and her child were eventually swept into the sea. Their child's body soon washed ashore. The bodies of Margaret Fuller, age 40, and her husband were never recovered.
Gandhi said, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." We must be our faith in action. It matters that a church like ours exists as a place to learn, grow, and serve together. It matters that the work of our faith is lasting, and we make a difference to each other today, and that we make the world a better place for the generations that will come after us. To support the work of UUMAN, this morning's offering will now be received using the Givelify app. Paula Blanchard, Margaret Fuller's biographer, writes, "What did she do?" She shares with Edgar Allan Poe the distinction of being our first major literary critic. She was our first woman correspondent. She contributed much to the feminist movement. She went further than any other woman of her time in forcing an unwilling public to accept the idea of a woman as a major intellectual figure. The effect she had on women's ability to believe in themselves is immeasurable, and her thinking on androgyny and vocational equality is still vital today. She brought a unique journalistic perspective to mid-century revolutionary Europe, where she was put in the position, the irony of which she fully understood, of seeing the old world transformed by early American ideals, even as America itself began to turn away from them. But ultimately, she should be remembered for what she was rather than what she did. Her achievement cannot be measured except in terms of the handicaps under which she gained it. In carving a niche for herself on the enormous wall of resistance that faced her, she left a foothold for others. In this respect, she may more closely resemble someone like the self-educated black abolitionist leader Frederick Douglass than she does any of her white male contemporaries. Given the circumstances of her life, it took an uncommon variety of strength and courage to continue to accept the universe, warts and all.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we're together again.
The supernatural, hidden causes, the presence and communion of unseen powers. Margaret Fuller helped the women of her time discover that those unseen powers were actually within. Yet, Ms. Fuller's words are for us all. May we all find the unseen powers that lie within. Go in peace and enjoy your week.